Welcome to the Century 21 Leading Edge podcast, where our mission is to give back and provide value to the industry that has been so amazing to all of us. We do this by keeping realtors and the public up to date on what's going on in our industry, growing our collective knowledge as professionals, and most importantly, by giving realtors and brokers everywhere the tools necessary to bring their business to an unprecedented level. Welcome, I'm Paul Barron, and welcome to the 18th Century 21 Leading Edge podcast. And my co-hosts are
Anthony Bungaro, partner at Century 21 Leading Edge. Welcome, everyone.
And I'm Tasis Giannakakis. And welcome and thanks for joining us again.
great. And don't forget to get those questions in. We need some more things to talk about this evening. So please don't hesitate to send your questions in, and we'll try to look after them today. So let's start with how things are going at the office. Anthony, how are you finding things with agents? Are they getting back? Are they busy? What's going on?
Paul, absolutely. I feel that it's the spring market, busy spring market in the middle of July. They are very, very busy. The offers, the questions, the listings they're trying to pick up. As we know, there's a bit of a shortage, but they are starting to come in. But they're just going on a positive note haywire. So to me, this is good. And because with the situation with COVID and all that, everyone's still trying to be very careful, but it's not stopping people looking at houses. So, you can just tell right through the front desk, the deals coming in. So let's hope it continues in a healthy fashion.
Perfect. How about you, Tass? Are you getting all of the technology sorted out? With running meetings and stuff like that?
Yes.
With
we are. Obviously, big adjustment to doing so much more online. But what I noticed, like Anthony said, way more people in the office. I was in the office Monday and Tuesday this week, and it was full, like as full as it would have been pre-COVID days in terms of realtors there working. And I think that's a great sign, because I think ultimately we take our cues from the public. If the public didn't feel comfortable going out and transacting in real estate, then the realtors wouldn't have anything to do. And they definitely, the confidence I think has come back because the activity is definitely there. So yeah, it's a great sign to have people coming and in the office and productive. So very positive.
So I'm just going to introduce our wines tonight. Last month, we tried an amazing Chianti Classico that you guys loved. Was your favorite, if you remember. And I found one that I like even more. Now this one is a Brunello di Montalcino, which is the same grape, the Sangiovese grape, the same as in the Chianti, but it's usually a little bit of a higher end. And this is a 2010 Brunello, rated 97 out of 100.
Wow, it's a high rating.
Yeah, it's a high rating. It's probably, like what you were mentioning earlier, probably a little bit too young, okay, to drink right now. But it's starting to open up, starting to be ready to open up. And the other wine that we're going to try second is an Argentinian wine, which is a Malbec, which is the grape variety, which we probably don't drink a lot of. I don't think you've probably ever heard somebody say, let's have a Malbec tonight, right? You ever heard that, Steve? No? One person. Was that me or no?
No, that wasn't
Okay, so somebody said it.
An excuse to text her. So.
Perfect. So yeah, so this is a Malbec from Argentina, and I had a case of that, and I had a few of those a couple of weeks ago, and thought, this is quite tasty. I think I will bring that out for the boys to try. And then the third wine that you don't see is because it is a white dessert wine, a Tokai, a Royal Tokai from Hungary, and we're going to try that one last. But it's on ice, so we'll bring it in when we're ready to go to that one. So cheers, guys. Enjoy. 18th podcast, man.
Cheers.
And they didn't think we would get to them, right? And we're at 18, right?
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Cheers.
Tasty, very
I,
nice.
I think a little bit needs to rest a little bit to open up, right? But very, very nice wine. So let's talk a little bit about the market. Certainly, I'm going to go through some of the stats, but let's talk about it from the agent standpoint. What are the agents finding, feeling, challenges that they're having out there, Tass?
I would say that the agents are almost surprised by how active the market is. That seems to be the general feedback. I think a lot of the realtors were almost anticipating their clients, or clients they were dealing with pre-COVID that had postponed and said, yeah, we'll put it off for now. And they're surprised to see how much more active they are, and how quickly they've become more active. So that seems to be the general consensus. Everyone seems to think that the market is a lot busier than they had anticipated it to be, which again I think is great. I think that in the beginning, probably I would say April, there were people out that were buying on the basis of, oh, I think I'm going to get a great deal, and there probably was better deals in April. And as the market has come back, and it's definitely has increased, June numbers are up, which is great. That's just Anthony's phone ringing, so we're just going to ignore that. That's why everyone has a funny face.
Good thing I
He hit it.
All good. That's
so
the
yeah,
live podcast. That's what happens, right? Yeah.
It's all good. So I think that I think the realtors are advising clients that, look, that little lull that we had has already passed, and the truth is, the prices from April went up in May, and from May they went up in June. And when you look at, and I know you have the stats there, Paul, but I know from memory, May to June went up. There was a price increase, and even from June 2019 to June 2020 has gone up. So I think this sitting on the fence, people are realizing that might not be the best choice here because the prices are going up. So I think that's kind of what's driving this, and people are out and trading in real estate. So it's great.
Absolutely. How about yourself, Anthony? What do you?
Well, what I'm finding is that if you preach to the sales agent, look, you got to get the listings, and they're saying, well, it's hard to get the listings, so they're working with buyers. And the only frustration I see with that is that when you get the phone call that there were 6 offers or 4 offers or 12 offers, this just seems a little, unexpected, and to continue to be of that nature. And so it's human nature to get very frustrated. It's human nature that you care for your clients, and how much of a service are you providing by having the discussion, well, let's try to position this how much we should go over the asking price. So, in terms of trying to get that pulse, Paul, being very self-centered, I would say the sales agents that are, getting listings, it's the old saying, you get properties listed, it's money in the bank in terms of your own not selfish, but business planning. But the goal is when you're trying to take care of clients, it is frustrating with buyers. And certain pockets are worse than others. It's not like just a slice of bread right across the entire GTA. There's areas like out east and in the city core where it's just multiple offers galore. So I find that is a bit frustrating for the agent.
Absolutely. So just to give you, some of the numbers, and obviously we have a lot of realtors that are watching, and they can obviously get the numbers. But let's talk about our impression of why the numbers are where they are and what it means, right? So that, I think, is what we want to do with this. So, when we look at last month, we talked about the Ipsos poll that was done in April. And in that poll, they had 17% of the sellers were going out there to sell, but 27% of the buyers said that they were going to transact. So the idea is that the sellers all thought that the buyers aren't going to be out there, so we're not going to be out there. And what has happened is we have a shortage of listings, and we have a shortage of listings because the sellers think that the buyers aren't going to be out there. Now, it's not going to be long before this record-breaking 8,701 sales for June, right? I was pegging it at 5,500. That was my prediction, okay? And everybody thought I was crazy. That there's no way that it was going to go from, what did we have the month before, 3,800? 3,800 to 5,500. And we ended up with 8,701 transactions, which is just down from 8,826 from June of last year. And obviously, what was it, up 89% from May, right? So certainly the number of transactions was helter-skelter. And what happens is that we always have to relate the number of listings that are available to the number of buyers that are out there. And because the listings were down by, I think, 28%, right? So we had all these buyers out there bidding on less homes. So it's a problem. And as a result, when there's a big demand and not enough supply, average price went to $930,869 for June of 2020. And that is compared to 882 from June of last year, and again up on the month-over-month basis from 863 in May. So, clearly all those people that said, let's wait and see what happens, is not the case. I was reading an article that was posted, I think, on June 17th, where a RBC financial analysis was being done, and they projected that the prices would recover by the fourth quarter of 2020, right? So,
And what does prices are to recover mean?
well, just that they'll be where they were pre-COVID.
Okay.
Right? And pre-COVID, we got to a high of 910. That was the pre-COVID price. So, oh yeah, we're there. We've already recovered that.
It's not the end of the year.
And then some, yeah.
Right? And, I guess that it's important to understand this, and it's also important to make consumers and sellers understand that this is an opportunity, right? And especially when you look at sellers that are looking at moving up north, moving to a retirement type of a home. A lot of those people were saying, oh, we should wait, right, until the market's better, right? The market is
better now.
Is better now, right? So you certainly shouldn't wait. The other thing that I would like to point out with these numbers is when we look at I'm just going to find that thing that I just want to give you guys here. So looking at the average price, and we'll look at the overall average price for year to date. And it's interesting that the average price for detached homes, right, was up considerably more, and for semis and for townhouses, significantly more than the condo apartments. And when we look at the condo apartments, the number of sales there was down 28%. So significantly lower than the detached product. And it's interesting. So what do you think? What do you think is the cause of that, guys? Why do you think that the detached semis, the freehold product, is doing so much better than the condo?
My guess, Paul, would be that this shift in mentality of people. I think COVID. It's just like if you look at the example of what was a den or a home office worth in a house pre-COVID, and what is it worth today, right? The value is totally different, right? If you check it off on a wish list today, I would fathom that it's close to the top, next to a beautiful kitchen, right? So definitely people's views have changed. I think that need for a home office space has become a very big reality for a lot of people. And I think that some of the benefits of condo living have been, eroded by COVID. Like whether it's the amenities, right? So, okay, the condo has great amenities, but during COVID we can't use them. The other thing, again, I usually, when I think condo, I think downtown or in the core, right? So what's a big part of the allure of that is I don't need a lot of space because my space is outside of the condo. I have great restaurants, shops, parks, all of this stuff that I'm going to use, right? And again, I think with COVID, I think people are rethinking that and thinking, okay, a lot of that stuff that I was here for, I don't have access to during COVID. And maybe I'd rather be, in a house. The other complaint that I've had from friends that live in condos, the idea of waiting half an hour to get in an elevator because there's only 2 people allowed per elevator, that is a concern,
So
right?
they still do that even though people are wearing masks? They still
I
limit
think
the number?
most of the condos have limits on number of people in the elevator, and that's a challenge, right? So a lot of these things become, I guess, inconveniences, or they just weren't on your radar before. Waiting for the elevator wasn't an issue before. None of this pre-COVID stuff was an issue before. So I think people just are rethinking what they want in a property and where they're going to live. And the thought of outside space it becomes, I think, very important now. I know with myself, if we don't have a few people outside and inside, there's just too many bodies in the house, right? So the idea of having a backyard, I think, has become a lot more alluring than it used to be pre-COVID, right? So I think that's probably where the shift is. The other comment, I like to ask people, what their thoughts are, and I had a friend of mine comment who, was looking to move and then said, hey, I think I'm willing to go further north to Newmarket, which he wasn't before. And why is that? Because his employer said, going forward, he had an optional, I think 1 day a week where he could work from home. Now his employer has said, you can work from home 3 days a week, and that's permanent, regardless of COVID. They see that as a permanent change. So now he's thinking, well, if I'm only commuting twice a week, I don't mind going further and having a further commute and getting more house, because I'm not in that rat race of the commute, Monday to Friday anymore. Right. So I think there's a lot of factors. It's not just one thing. I think all of those are things that I find people are commenting are affecting their views or their change in views.
Right. Okay, if I could just very quickly, I do.
Take your time.
No, just very quickly, because Tassis did an excellent job, which I wholeheartedly agree with that. But thinking of the question in addition, in terms of, there's trends, and it's quite conceivable, or at least I'll go back to what I used to believe, that condos were sort of the affordable thing, and why there was a lot of busyness in purchases of condo. Well, it was affordable, and So they're not exactly, if you pardon the French, cheap. So when you say, why is it that they're buying maybe single family dwellings, it just something seems a little off. I believe in trends. And again, it's just a guess that, if you go back, you don't have to keep going back that far. There was a time when a condo was an affordable option, but if you're going to get $1 million for your house, but a nice 2-bedroom condo with a den is $850, there's a bit of an issue. The only thing I've heard associates say, and it's the last point I wanted to make, and this might be just their opinion, 1 or 2 or 3 people, they're expensive to carry. So for example, if the maintenance fee is $800-900 a month, the newer buildings are billing you for the hydro and the heat, and then the taxes are $5,000-6,000 a year. They're not cheap. Versus a single family dwelling, your taxes, heat and hydro, I realize there's the amenities and all that, but they're very expensive. So the few people I spoke to, a couple have sold their condos for this. They're saying, look, I'm getting to an older age. I don't want all those expenses. I'll get my own single family home. And I think the feelings of what you said, getting to the backyard, being able to social distance. So I was just thinking of the trends and the comments that I had that they're not cheap.
No, I think that you're spot on. I think that's the biggest reason, right? I think you nailed it. Tass had some good points, but I think you nailed it because
Yeah.
let's face it, as the values of condos and downtown condo at $1,300 a square foot, right? You can buy a house and you can pay $600 a square foot. Right? So you're obviously usually buying a bigger product, so that's why it's not going to be possible for some people. But certainly, as those values get closer together, people can make that decision to go house instead of condo. Absolutely. I wanted to give you guys, though, the actual numbers for June in terms of the changes in the numbers of the different products that sold. So detached home, there was 4,445, which was a change of increase of 5.6%. And the condo apartments, there was 1,793 sold, which is a decrease of 16.3%. So significantly less condos being sold in June than detached homes. And when we look at the semi-detached, they were also down a little bit. They were down 9.3%, and then townhouses were up in terms of the volume of transactions by 6.5%. And when we look at the prices, the year-to-year change in prices for the detached home was an increase of 10.8%. And the increase in the condo apartment was 7%. Now here, when we're talking about these TREB stats, we're talking about resale stats, right? So that's condo resale, and in general, condo resale is going to be less than condo new construction cost. And just to round that out, the average semi was up 11.9%, so that was the highest increase, and the townhouse was up 9.8%. So the freehold product certainly did better in the pricing, right? And, quite honestly, it is that $1,300 a square foot price downtown that people are having a hard time dealing with. I think for next month, for our podcast, I'd like to delve into a little bit of a discussion on rental rates and what's happening with rental rates in the downtown and in general, because I think that that's also having a factor on that. I couldn't find any recent stats that were published, but I'd like to have some numbers, and Steve, if you can mark that down for next month as a topic to ask us on if we forget to talk about the rental rates and how that's affecting the new construction business. The other thing that's interesting with the new construction is we obviously have, in general, less product coming to the market. So when we look at Ontario in general, I think it's this year they're forecasting 150,000 new construction product coming to the market. That's freehold and condo. And normally that would be in the 200 to 210,000. So it's down 50, 60,000. And what's interesting is the builders are slowing down on what they're bringing to the market, but we still have a shortage of product, right? And, if new listings were down 28%, that's a problem. And if they don't bring new product to the market, then it continues to be a problem. And for our viewers, we'll ask them, what happens if there's less product and there's more buyers? What are they saying, Steve?
I'm actually writing down the timestamp.
Okay, there you go. Oh, prices go up, right? That's
good
what
answer.
happens, right? Prices go up. Great answer. And who was that? Jane? Jane responded to that? Perfect. Okay, very good. So prices go up, right? That's the bottom line. We've got quite a few agents that are in the new construction business Have you heard any feedback from them, Tass, as to what's going on, how they're
I
finding
think
things?
for the most part, Paul, during COVID, and this was basically based on the builders' leads, really. Most of that had really slowed down because the builders did not want to bring new releases out during COVID, and I think there's been maybe none, right? If any, like very few, okay? New releases. And I get it because the whole point behind that is a big hoopla. They want people lined up. They jam in as many people into a venue. None of that they can do now, right? So they can't create that frenzy. So I think most of that stuff has stopped. But what most of the guys that are specialized in pre-construction have been doing is going out and selling that existing inventory, right? So I think a lot of them, I've noticed, have been putting out great incentives from the builders because the builders still want to conduct business, they still want to sell stuff. So they're saying, okay, we don't have the big boom release of a new project. Let's then concentrate on selling out our existing projects. So they've done a lot of great incentives. All of our pre-construction guys have been advertising great incentives on multiple projects. And that's all been existing inventory. You know, selling off the rest of the building and stuff like that. So there again, there's been good deals to be had there, right? And I think, again, supply and demand, I agree with you on that. But there definitely seems to be a shift, right? When you look at that change in prices and number of units, it's a shift for multiple reasons, right? But you can't ignore the shift, right? And it was quite the opposite a year ago, 2 years ago. That was reversed. It was detached was going down, condo was going up. Now it's done this, right? So, you know, that's what's been happening.
How about yourself, Anthony, with new construction? You hearing any feedback from
Just what Tass has said.
what Tass said?
Yeah.
So it's interesting with new construction. What I see happening, or what I talk to a few agents about, is we have quite a few people that are now coming to closing on condo product, and a lot of times these people are having trouble getting financing. With the new rules they may have bought 4 or 5 years ago before the stress test and all that was involved. So when we look at the assignment business, right? And generally an assignment condo, and for you agents that are listening, an assignment condo is going to sell $200 to $300 less than the new construction release product, and it is still a new product. It's just that you don't have that 3-4 year time frame for appreciation, but you're buying it at that discount. And in a lot of cases, the client can't close, so they're a little bit more motivated. And when we look at there being a lot of condo product out there, this is your opportunity. So I talked to a few agents about Broker Bay, which is a software program that we use in the office. And we have the ability to put our assignment deals on that because it's a private network. So for the most part, new construction product has you sign off on the fact that if you put it on MLS, it's a problem, right? You void your commission, not allowed to put on MLS, because if they have any product still for sale, they don't want to be competing. So the idea is that on that private network, you're able to put your coming soon product and your assignment products, and it is a great way to market them and also to look for what could suit your client's need. And that way they get new product and they get it at a discount. So it's a win-win for both, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times it is a totally different client. The buyer that bought it 4 years ago, in a lot of cases, bought it as an investment. Yeah. And most assignments we know happen just before closing. So now that's not an investor in most cases. It's someone who wants to be a user and move in. So
Right.
it's a good fit.
For sure, for sure. So, the second wine, let's give that a run. I know that we haven't finished the first one, but I just want you guys to just have a look at that one. And obviously, when you look at the color, I know my glass is almost empty here. It's funny how my glass gets empty so quick, eh? I don't know why that is. But this one is just a way deeper color with that Malbec.
Way fruitier than the first one. Nice, very nice.
Have you had a Malbec before?
Yes. Uh-huh.
How about you, Anthony?
I don't know, unless it was from you.
It's not.
But the only thing I can say is what you said. It's got a nice fruitier taste. I mean, the color is like a dark burgundy.
Yeah.
But it's. I don't want to try to say it's better than the other one, but just by tasting
Well,
it,
you can say
can I say that?
which you like better.
I'm thinking I like this one better just by the
You're
couple.
thinking.
Well, can
Now, if
I?
I tell you you shouldn't, you'll change your mind.
Oh yeah, the other one's better.
So.
I like the flavor of it.
Yeah, you like the flavor, and that's the thing. Wine is
Matter of
is
taste.
It's a matter of taste. It's a matter of personal.
So
taste.
you can't win. You can't be wrong.
No, you can't be wrong. But what the experts say, right? And I'm not the expert, but what the experts say is that this Malbec that you tried, right, is rated 93 out of 100.
Well, and this other one was 97.
Yes. Right. So the experts are saying that this wine is higher rated.
And that's
all
why.
that's all they're saying.
But I'm not an expert, and I like the flavor better.
Right. And if you're going to have something like a a rib dinner, or I actually like Malbec with burgers. That's my my thing. I just find it to be
Helps
good
wash it down.
Hearty wine with a burger.
wash it down.
I remember being at a tasting once with a friend of my brother's, and not that we were. Well, I certainly wasn't, but he was trying to impress the young ladies, and they asked him what he thought of a wine, and he said, "I think it's a good burger wine." I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
if
Steve
that's
liked the
a
barbecue.
good pickup line, but I do remember that.
Can he go light the barbecue and we'll throw a burger on?
That's right.
What's the matter for you?
I'm curious, did it work?
No, it didn't. So.
My brother's still single.
Yeah, no, that wasn't my brother. That was my brother's friend, right?
Oh, okay.
It was my brother's friend, right?
still
So he is he was single back then, but yeah, he did eventually find somebody, but that's not. That's another story. That's another story. Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is going to be known as the burger wine now.
the burger one. Yeah. So I just
It's
happen
very
to like
easy
it.
drinking.
I just happen
Well, it
to
goes
like
good with
it-
a burger.
Like it with a burger, right? It's a great wine. And what did you guys think? You didn't comment on the Brunello. Did you guys like that more than the Chianti that we had last month, or do you remember that far back? Or should I have brought another one of those Chiantis?
Yeah, I remember enjoying the Chianti more than this one, Paul.
Yeah.
Found this one a little bit too tangy.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's because it's too early. Like you mentioned that it's
Yeah,
It's a little bit young,
Of course, you
right?
remember that last month it was a 2006 that we had, so it was 4 years older, right? It's interesting. I don't remember a lot of things, but I always remember what wine I had and the year it was, and all that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit older. So maybe this one is a little bit on the younger side. And a lot of times when you see that complexity in a wine, right? You'll see that the pros will rate it higher because there's a lot that can evolve there, and they can see that. But if you look at what is nicer to drink right now, yeah, the one last month was nicer to drink. But I also think that if you leave that till the end of the night, and then you try it, and it has a chance to aerate and mellow out a little bit, I think you'll find that it's quite
So
nice.
let me ask you this, Paul. When they're rating these wines, at what age of the wine do they rate it?
So, for the most part, wines are rated, in a lot of cases, from barrel samplings. So not even in the bottle, and that's when you look at when they're rating an overall vintage, or a lot of higher end wines like Bordeaux wines. They're often barrel samples, and when you look at ratings, they will tell you if it's a barrel tasting or a bottle tasting. So it is always young, right? So they are looking and they can anticipate how a wine
Is gonna
is
age.
going to age and evolve.
If it tastes like this now, what's it going to taste like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Look at the Malbec for me, Anthony, just to see the age. Yeah, I think that's like a 2012 or something like that. Is that
You're right.
2012? So what's interesting is that the Malbec as a 2012, they're saying that the drinking time for that is now till 2028, right? This wine's 2 years older, and this drinking time is 2019 to 2035, right? I just have to stay healthy and live long to enjoy all my
To
wines.
let these all mature to their prime.
At that age.
Well, you should mature and prime at the same time.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And I always like to try them, on the way up, right? On the way too, just to try them at different times. So very, very interesting on the wines. So, Steve, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great.
You're great.
How are you?
So Steve just stuffed a whole tuna in his mouth there while we're talking, and I was going to him to see if anybody had any questions so that we can direct what we talk about next. Anybody have any
I've had
questions?
some come in,
Yeah.
and people are definitely interested. They're interested, and it seems like a little bit confused by some of the things that are going on in the market right now.
Oh, not the wine? I thought we were going to have some wine questions. No wine questions?
No, but I did really like the when is it rated question, because I had no idea. Like, I jumped over and wrote that one down. So one person wrote in, with so much controversy out there, so many opinions, you're hearing it from all directions, and really polar opposite advice from experts. What do you think a reasonable prediction for the market in the next 2 quarters will be?
Perfect. Tass, what's going to happen between now and the end of the year?
Definitely first quarter will be up. If the next quarter. So the third quarter of the year. He said the next 2 quarters. So
the first of the
yeah. So now I'm getting confused too. The third quarter I think will be up price wise, and the next quarter I believe will probably level off as I think more product. Hopefully the public is listening to our podcast, and all the sellers are going to call up their realtors and say, "Hey, listen to these 3 stooges, and they said that it's a good time to sell. Maybe they're right." So I think there'll be more product, and the market will level off. But I think we'll definitely end up at a plus on the price side by the end of the year. That's my prediction.
Anthony, what's really going to happen now that Tass has given us his view?
I'm not too far off in disagreeing. I think the third quarter,
You
which
agree with him?
no, well, I do agree with him. We often think alike, and that's good. The way it's happening right now, there's no reason that all of a sudden the brakes are going to go on and you're going to just go out on a limb and say, "Wow, it's going to die right down." The way it's happening now with the supply and demand, the shortage of listings, the prices in the third quarter will continue to rise in terms of prices. I think the sales will also be breaking records in terms of sales. The last quarter, the only way you can go out on a limb and go and predict the last quarter, it does base it on inventory. If inventory remains ridiculously low, then you'll actually see the prices even creep a little bit more. Maybe not astronomical, but they'll creep up. So you could say that the prices will not go down in the next 2 quarters at all. If there's an enormous amount of inventory that does pick up in the last quarter, which is always possible, which is conceivable, then you'll see it level off in terms of prices.
Okay, very good. So my view on that question is there's lots of variables, right? So we obviously have a pandemic that is still going on, We have a government and a country, I think, that has done an excellent job relative to a lot of other countries, some close to us, that have not done a good job with it. And clearly, a second wave or a sharp increase in cases or in challenges with that, I think could slow things down again. I don't anticipate, based on the way that our government and our province and Ford and all these guys are doing a great job. I think that they're doing really, really well with it. So I don't think that there'll be a significant uptick or a second wave. And I think that if there is, we'll take measures to combat it very, very quickly. So my prediction is also based on the fact that, talking about the actual first quarter, right, which was January, February, March. Okay, so when we look at, where are things going, we need to look at where were things before the pandemic. And before the pandemic, we were in a helter-skelter real estate mode, red hot. So those first 3 months were significantly increased. We went from 830 to 910,000 average price. And then the pandemic hit, and that put the brakes on things. So I believe that because of that pent-up demand, and the fact that in June, even before we got out of the pandemic, the majority of buyers were back out, I am predicting a $1 million average price by the fourth quarter, which is up from the 930 right now, and to go to that $1 million for the GTA. And I think that will happen. Now, I think there's going to continue to be a shortage of listings. There's going to continue to be that pent-up demand. And I also believe that the aftermath of all of the other challenges that we face. So I was watching our finance minister announce today that we have a $343 billion deficit. That's what they announced today, right? And the prime minister is bragging about how he's helped everybody, right? The truth is, we've all helped everybody because we got to pay it back, right? And so I think that the time for the fallout from dealing with that financial assistance that they had, and there's people that are saying people are buying houses on the what is it called, the CERB. They're buying houses on the CERB. Nobody's saying, okay, I got my CERB, I'm going to buy a house. They better have a job that they're going back to, or they're not buying a house. But the idea is that there will be some people that will not be reemployed. There will be an increase in bankruptcies. But I think that will not take a toll on the marketplace until the beginning of the year of 2021. And I don't predict that that's going to be any huge drop off. That's when I believe that it's going to stabilize, which is what you said, but I think it's a quarter later. I think it's after the fourth quarter of this year, and then we're going to get that stabilization, because there is going to be a lot of people that are going to be putting their homes on the market because they didn't get their job back. And, that's going to be unfortunate for those people, but it will add some inventory. But we have so much pent-up demand in the GTA that there's just no way. And people that are, and it's interesting that the majority of people that comment on the housing market are in the stock business. And I truly believe that they want to talk negatively about the housing business because you should invest in the stock business. That's my belief. I'm not calling anybody out, but I believe that is what their motivation is. And I think that a lot of times these people are talking about things as if there is one buyer for every seller. And if we have 5 buyers for every seller, and things cool a little bit, and we only have 2, still the prices don't go down, right? We have to have 2 sellers for every buyer for the prices to go down. And I don't think that that's mathematically possible in the GTA. I don't think ever in the GTA, right? And I think that even if we see, like we saw in the first couple of months of dealing with this pandemic, prices did go down, right? That was the opportunity, right? And if they do go down, then because we have such a strong market, then the investors are going to say, hey, I'll jump in and pick up that slack. So I think $1 million average price by the end of the year, and then I think a leveling into 2021. I know we were only forecasting for 2 months, but I'm going into 2021 as well. Okay, so I know I went.
That was a very long-winded
long
answer to
I
that question.
apologize.
But I listened.
Okay, we're out of time. No more questions.
That's right. Any more questions, Steve?
We do have more questions. Okay, so I guess it really touches, kind of touches on what you guys were just talking about, but do you feel the current increase is because of a delayed spring market, or that things have simply snapped back and returned to normal? So I think what they're basically saying is are you expecting at this point just for things to go normal, you can kind of go year over year stats and those will be reasonable indicators again? Or is this kind of a delayed spring market that we would have expected to see in May, but due to COVID, we're seeing it in June and July?
So I'm going to jump on I usually take the last spot, but I'll take the first spot. So January and February of 2020 was the spring market. So every year, I believe that in the GTA that the spring market is earlier. I think it started in January this year. And we took a pause because of the pandemic, and now we're right back into it. So I don't think that it is about the spring. I think it is about the pent-up demand, and that was from the beginning of the year, right?
Good answer.
Good answer. You like that answer?
Good answer. But it's true.
It's true.
It's true.
To ditto.
It's true.
Ditto.
What else
There
we
we go.
have, Steve?
Somebody wrote in saying that they noticed the board is currently lobbying to have the new homebuyer land transfer tax rebate increase. Do you guys know anything about that, and do you have any comments on it?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I've been just hearing about it, but I'm not crystal clear.
There you go.
So I think it's good to crystal clear.
So actually, the land transfer rebate for first-time buyers actually came in 2008, and it offered a rebate for a portion of the land transfer tax to help first-time buyers. Now, at the time that came in, I think the average price was around $420 or something like that in the GTA, and they set that limit on the first 400,000 of value, right? So 400,000 is the extent of that rebate, and that is unfair when it is more than doubled the average value in the GTA. So you're only getting a rebate on the first 400,000, and they've never made any adjustments to that. So I do know that the board is lobbying the government. They're doing a lot of stuff to try to get that increased from 400,000 to 800,000, so that the rebate would double for first-time buyers. And you know, it's interesting when you look at that Ipsos poll, and you look at government intervention and lobbying to help the market, right? I think that this is a good one, right? Because it's helping first-time buyers. But I think that we will not see, if the market remains red hot, I don't think that we'll see a lot of intervention, right? But I think that is one that has value because it is for that first-time buyer, and that is the one that is struggling. So I think that's why the board is really focusing on that.
For new and resale, though, it's both.
Yeah.
For new and resale.
Yeah, it is land transfer tax, which is on any
Purchase.
Yep.
But again, it's not the entire full amount of the land transfer. It's a portion of it.
So no, it's the land transfer tax on the first 400,000.
Right.
Correct.
But currently they're buying it for $950.
So
So they're only getting a break on the first 400,000, right? And we're looking to double that, to increase that.
So would they get the entire land transfer? If you bought a house for 400, the rebate, you would get the whole rebate, all the land transfer.
Yeah.
Correct.
And if you bought it for $1 million,
You only get on the
then
first 400.
You'd only get it on the first 400,
Right.
and they're just looking to get that on 800 to increase it. And it has not been increased.
But how
in
long will
12
this
years.
lobbying take? This is the thing, right? You know, and it's just a position, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that we will make headway with that, because I think that the government is interested in helping first-time buyers, and there's no
That's a
doubt.
logical assistance to
Yeah,
provide, right? In
absolutely.
comparison to some of the programs that they do.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that the real estate market drives the economy, right? And if we look at challenges from coming out of COVID, the best thing is to have a good real estate market, because everything else is sort of feeds off of that, right? So the other thing I wanted to ask you guys is there's a lot of people that are talking about the work from home and the fact that it's going to have this huge effect on the office market and the leasing and downtown office space, because if everybody works from home, are we going to vacate downtown, right? So what do you guys make of that? And do you see any signs that that's going to happen? And do you think they're blowing smoke, or do you think that there's some
I think
validity
that
to it?
that's a great question, Paul. I think that right now we're really in the test tube of that of that scenario, right? And what I mean by that is, I would say that it'll have very little to do with COVID or preventing disease, and have a lot more to do with economics, right? So I think because of COVID right now, a lot of companies that did not want to test that scenario of more work from home or all work from home or all the variations of it, right? I think they've been forced to do that right now, right? So they're, I think, sitting back now thinking, okay, this is the best test example we could ever have. So let's see what's going to happen. Are we as productive, more productive, less productive? Now let's minus our office space and see what that looks like. So I think that's one way to look at that. And I think the economics will determine whether they reduce space or not. But again, I think that this is spread out over such a long period of time, because if you want to see big adjustments there, okay, where is that going to happen? So you have a big corporation that has 8 floors of an office tower downtown. After COVID, they decide, you know what, we only need 5 floors, okay? It's not like they can call up the landlord and say, take the other 5 floors back. Doesn't work that way. They either have to find a subtenant, or, because generally speaking, they all have a great covenant, so they're not walking away from that space. They're going to wait till their lease comes up. So that could be in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So it's not like all of a sudden, okay, COVID's done, everybody gave back their office space because they don't need it anymore. It's not going to happen like that. And during that period, are other businesses not going to come into effect, flourish, need space? It's not like we had an abundance of office space to begin with. We already had a super low vacancy, right? So I think that's one factor. Is there going to be changes there? I think yes, definitely. And I do see companies adjusting their space. I think another way of looking at that is a lot of the stuff that was taking place pre-COVID, like what we've seen in restaurants, shared communal tables. So a lot of offices, people that I've spoken to in big corporations, they had condensed their space, and they were offering this, communal office space where you work at a table with 6 people. Well, guess what? That's gone out the window now. So now they have to go back to cubicles that take up more space. So yeah, exactly. So, it really is one of these balancing acts, right? I think there will be an adjustment, but I think the adjustment will definitely be only if companies see that it makes economic sense for them, right? So that's what I see happening. But again, it's not going to be, oh, wake up and all of a sudden half this office tower is empty downtown. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think that when you look at that question of office space, I think that you can relate it to retail space, and when you look at malls and the online shopping, which has also, I think, been enhanced with COVID-19, but that was already taking place. And when we look at, I guess it's Bayview Village Mall, I know I used to go to that liquor store. This is the only reason why I know that this is happening at that, because they had a great vintages, one of the best vintages, north of downtown. And they actually are taking a huge part of that mall
space,
and changing it to residential. And they shrunk the LCBO into this little miniature crappy LCBO. Don't go to the Bayview LCBO. That's not the place to get stuff. So
I see a bigger challenge in retail, Paul, than in office. Like the question was office, but
that happened. I'm just saying that happened before COVID-19.
That was already
and
in
that's
play.
because people were starting to move to this online shopping, and I guess Walmart stock went up because they announced that they're now going to compete with Amazon. Next day delivered. You guys?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Walmart stock. I don't have the. I didn't really look at it, but I heard the report where Walmart announced next day delivery, and they're now going to compete with Amazon. Wow. And they're going to give them a run for their money. Now, I don't know if you guys saw. I guess you don't drive on. You don't go to the golf club anymore.
I know
Have you
exactly what
seen
you're
it?
talking about, Paul, because as they were building it, I thought, this can only be one thing. Because, Paul's referring to a building, Amazon building that just went up on stilts. And as they were building it, I drove by and I thought, I can't see where this building ends. As they were building it, Anthony, like just the metal, the metal was up. I could not see where the building ended. And I thought, this has got to be the biggest warehouse I've ever seen in my life. And lo and behold, that's why I started laughing when you mentioned it. Now it's got the Amazon sign. I said, yeah, that makes sense, right?
So when you look at it, you look at 5,000 square feet. I think this building is 5,000 feet long. Right? Like it just goes on forever. And I
Like
happen to
hundreds of thousands of square feet.
golf. And if we are able to have the Cedar Brae golf tournament, and we're actually looking for the 50 indoor guests or 100 outdoor guests, if we move to phase 3 in Ontario, then we will try to get the tournament to go. Nice. And then if you do that, if you're driving along Steeles on the way to the golf club, so just before you get to the golf club, it's right there, just east of Markham Road, right? They've got the Amazon sign labels on it now. So yeah, it's going.
So that's a great point, Paul, because I tell everybody there's a shift, right? So this goes down, but guess what? Something else is going up, right? Like look at what Walmart and all the grocery stores have been doing in terms of sales during all of this, right? So yes, I get it. I feel for restaurants. They're suffering huge, right? But other businesses are increasing, So there is a balance there. I get a little bit tired of the doom and gloom of, oh my God, everything's gone, it's all done. There's plenty of businesses that are flourishing during this, right? So.
Sure, if you're in the hand sanitizer business or adjusted to
or
it.
masks, good
Or
luck.
masks, right?
I joked with my wife this morning. Who would have thought? If we were in the mask manufacturing business, we would be billionaires right now.
Or even in the weight business. So what I mean by the weight business, so I'm talking about weights. So we can't go to the gym.
Yes.
Normally, if you go and buy barbells and dumbbells, it's $1 a pound. 400% increase. It's $4 a pound to buy weights.
Worse than meat.
Worse than meat, right? Because there's that much of a demand, because everybody's going to work out at home. The home gym, they're flourishing
Yeah.
because people aren't.
Peloton bikes,
Yeah.
you probably can't get your hands on one.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of things that that adjust for that. Steve, any other questions?
We have one last one that came in that is actually kind of along the vein of what you guys were talking about with the office space downtown. Been hearing word about and it's in caps, mass exodus from the downtown core to the suburbs. How do you feel about that prediction?
Perfect, Anthony.
Mass exodus?
Yeah. We don't need office space. They don't need to work downtown.
They don't
so
need
they're
to
all
live
leaving.
downtown.
They're all going to Kapuskasing.
I think that's
Kinda like
again.
when Moses
Yeah,
left.
I think there's a lot of sensationalism. I'm not disrespecting the fact that this has been predicted, but a lot of things are predicted that are way off the mark. I don't think there's going to be a mass exodus. I think it's more of a process that company by company. There's no way that there could be a mass exodus. I think if this was the media suggesting that or somebody predicting that, I get it, but I doubt that very much.
Just to clarify as well, what they're mainly talking about is individuals living in the downtown core and then shifting to the suburbs, just because of some of the factors that we were talking about earlier, and I think you were touching on that a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't think it'd be a mass exodus. So.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony. I don't, can there be an adjustment there, Steve? Sure there can. Just like there was an adjustment to living downtown and the whole idea of your footprint on the environment and how commuting affected that and walking scores. Who had heard of anything like a walking score 5 years ago even, right? 10 years ago. Walking score, what does that mean? How fast do I walk, right? But now it's such a big thing. People want to know what's the walking score of this property, because they want to know, can I walk to transit and grocery and all of that stuff, right? So I don't see that just kind of disappearing, right? People aren't going to give up their beliefs on minimizing their footprint just because of COVID and say, okay, we got to move to the suburbs and drive and all of that stuff. I don't think that it's going to shift that strongly. Will there be a shift? Sure, there always is, right? I think the other thing that we totally discount is people keep saying about the new world, the new reality. There will eventually be a cure or a vaccine for this. So what's going to happen when that happens? And I don't know exactly. That's why I commented that I think the shift in stuff like office space will be purely economically driven, right? But once, let's say just COVID is gone, how does that affect travel? How does that affect all of that stuff? I'll jump on a plane. Like I want to go on holidays, right? So am I never going to go on holidays because I'm still scared of COVID once there's a vaccine? I don't think so, right? I think that people will quickly revert back to the things that they enjoyed and like doing before, right? And part of that is probably living downtown. So, anyways,
Yeah, I think there's also other reasons to live downtown, other than that you work there.
They convene everything at your doorstep.
Yeah, that they like living downtown.
They don't need. A lot of them don't have vehicles. They say, "Why do I need a car?"
Exactly. Yeah. So, again, transit is another issue that is currently a challenge. But I think that these things, as Tass says, this is a different thing, right? There is an end game, and the end game is either a cure, right, or a vaccine. And once that happens, then we have choice again. Right now, it seems like we don't have choice, right? But I also think, for myself, I'm sick of working at home. Okay. Now, I hope the wife and the kids don't watch this podcast or listen to this podcast. But yeah, they may be. Now I do get. It takes me 15 minutes for lunch because I say to my wife, "Honey, what's for lunch?" right? You saw when I was on video, it was all being served to me. You know, it's lovely.
that kind of service at the office.
No, I don't get that kind of service at the office. So, you know, I think that people are social beings.
Yes,
And
100%.
and I think that we are starving for that, right? So there will be a balance. But I think that there's a huge amount of good that has come from forcing people into these changes, right? I know for us as a business, right? For us as a business, we're rethinking how we deal with agents' challenges, you know, this going to the meeting, driving to the training, and we did lots of stuff with Zoom and online. But now we're perfecting it and getting more and more.
I think it's
into that.
interesting, Paul, that I would say I'm actually 100% confident on this, that the typical weekly training that we did that was live training, we're getting better traction from the training that we're doing, which is the same training, but online every day. And I would say I'm 100% confident that we have way more traction with it now than we did when it was live. I think, don't get me wrong, there's merit in live training as well, but that specific training, I think we're getting more buy-in now, maybe because people are available, maybe it's just because it's easier. They figure, hey, I'll jump on and do it in an hour from home. I don't have to drive to the McNichol office to go do this. So I think there is some positives, right?
Yeah, yeah. I know my day today, I had an arbitration hearing from 9:30 till whenever it was done. I had another online session at 10 o'clock, another online session at 11 o'clock, and another online session at 12 o'clock. Wow. Right? Now, my arbitration hearing went to 12:05. So I missed two. Now, what's interesting is that when you log on or sign on to these different things, and this wasn't office training, this was other programs that I was taking, but when you sign on to it, you usually get sent the recording of it as well. So even if I'm not available, I log on and my calendar's got this overlap of all these things that I can do. And I have attempted, because I do believe that I am a multitasker. I do know that it's not really possible, but I believe I am sometimes. And when I'm not in an arbitration hearing, because you can't do it when you're in that, but I'll have one in a listen-only mode on my desktop and another one on my laptop, and I'll listen to the one that I think sounds better at the time. And I'll try to do two.
You're hedging your bets on which one will be more...
Right, and some of them are ones that I've got to attend. There I am sitting. I'm here. I'm here. Okay, I'm going to pour the third wine. So drink out one of your two glasses. They're tasked. So this is, as you guys know, I don't drink a lot of white wine, but this is a wine from Hungary, and it's a Royal Tokai. And this is a dessert wine that is a little bit like Sauternes, which is a dessert wine from the Bordeaux region of France. This one is from Hungary, and it is a little bit more citrusy. And I happen to love this. I would pair this wine with a baked pear, a peach cobbler. You got any of those going on here at the man cave? Tess, just drink that last little bit out there, just because we're changing from. Well, Anthony's done a thorough job there. We're changing. Oh, it's just gold there for you.
Liquid gold.
You guys, glasses are. Yours is a little bit different color because you got a little bit of red still in the glass there.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. So a Royal Tokai. Have we tried one of these before? I think we did.
Cheers,
dessert ones.
Tess.
We might have done one, right?
Cheers, Anthony. Oh yeah, this is fabulous. This is the stuff my wife loves.
Oh, this
I've
is
given her a bottle
awesome.
of this before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I get another cheers from you guys?
Yeah. Cheers, guys. And this wine is.
Cheers.
And again, I'm not a big white wine. Mostly Riesling, Sauternes, and Tokai. And to me,
Isn't that
even
nice?
if you don't have the baked pear or the peach cobbler,
You can have a cigar.
you could have a cigar, or you could just, this is just on its own. It's a dessert in a glass. It's just delicious.
Excellent.
I'll just get a shot with it.
Excellente.
I talked that one up. You figure you give it a try, Steve?
Yeah, exactly. And,
He's thinking-
and Migs requested B-roll.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just different from all.
I actually think you'll like that.
Yeah, it's just different from all.
No, all good. And it really
It's great.
doesn't go good after or to switch back to the red wine, but all good. So we tend to take a long time on those questions, but I guess we're just thorough coverage is what we're doing.
You
Right?
guys are at an hour 10 now, so
Oh.
just an FYI.
Okay, so we're
That
good.
actually
We're good.
flew by.
What's that? It did.
I think that's good.
Yeah. So, anything else that you guys want to address? And as I said, I want to really touch on the rental market next month to delve into that. So do some research on that. And yeah, I think that we're good.
Yeah, no, I think that that's great.
So thank you very much for attending our 18th podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the wine. And as I mentioned, if we move to stage 3, there will be a Century 21 Leading Edge Golf Tournament. And I have a swelling cellar that is got no functions to share my wine. Were you down there? No.
Yes, I've been there before.
Yeah. So my brother came and he's like, okay, what's this?
You have
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do with all that?
Too much wine in there. And yeah, so I'd love to share some with you guys. So cheers. Here's to hopefully having the golf tournament and wine tasting. And we'll see you guys all in August.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks
Cheers.
for joining
Thank you.
us.
Thank you. I'm Paul Barron, broker of record with Century 21 Leading Edge. And I would encourage you to come and join our company. I provide wine advice when you're out at a restaurant. I have many agents text me with choices of wine that they're choosing at dinners, and I provide that kind of advice, and the rest of the team provides some amazing real estate advice. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next month.
And I'm Tasis Giannakakis. Thank you very much for joining us. I can't give you wine advice, but definitely some real estate advice.
Thank you, Anthony Bungaro. And the same thing. Any real estate advice, come and speak to me. It'll be an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
They're actually starting to become pros at wine advice and getting the opinion on, when is this samples tasted? When do they rate them? We're drilling down
getting
on
there.
a lot of information here. Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers.